Okay. As I type this fucking name, I remember I forgot the name of this after I had my because I wanted to always remember I don't matter. So I named the business basic as fuck. So now whenever somebody tries me, they're like, yeah, this page is basic as fuck. But I'm like, so really, that's why the text is minimal, the effort I put into this is minimal. I just tell y'all what the fuck is on my mind. I read some shit. Just because all the things I thought matter don't fucking matter. So you good? We sage too. She saged with marijuana. The goddess. And it's just continuation of that. So hopefully he gets that opportunity. I had to meet you again, boo. All right, you good, Heather? Oh, you muted. Hold on. I gotta ask you to unmute you. So you were just over there like a mom, like it's whatever.
Oh. Yeah, no, I lit a yellow candle instead of some cedar because I didn't have any. I fucking burnt all my fucking sage and shit living in this crack apartment.
No, don't do that.
Understood. Sometimes you gotta do that.
That's funny because I have the yellow
candle over my face, but we're good now.
I was like, I wasn't gonna say that, but I'm like, damn, we left and Heather got in a fight. She came back like it was nothing.
No, because I got this. I had like
you had stuff here, like.
Oh fuck! I put it out. See, this is what I'm telling everybody. You don't have to like.
No, I'm happy you did because I would have messaged you after, like, you good, sis? Yeah, but you were trusted. That's fabulous.
Demon daddy or what?
They out in these streets. Okay, we need to let them people know that. All right. In the beginning of this, the whole point of the spiritual awakening is for you to remember that you are indeed a spirit having a human experience. You are playing The Sims. You picked the character, and all the other pieces that came into play were variables based upon what you wanted. So besides the stuff that's the devil trying to just stop you from it, the other stuff was in order to build the character needed to accomplish the task, which is whatever your North Node is. Which is why astrology is important. Because most of the time you have it repeating in your head anyway. You know what the hell you came to do. It's just you get knocked off having to pay these damn bills, which are absolutely the devil. I don't think we should have to pay none of this shit.
I agree.
Like, I don't want it.
We should be free.
Yeah, like
and
so.
People in jail because of it should be too.
I just really want to know why, when it's more of us than them, why don't we ever just like, maybe this is like the Aquarius and me talking, like why don't we ever just like take over? Will we do a horrible job at that too?
There's a theory that the whole reason, have you guys ever heard of the story of Hades and Persephone?
Yeah, that whole kidnapping thing.
Yeah, and so there's like, interpreted through sort of an alchemical lens, you look at that as in, what if you kind of change perspective on it, like, oh, Persephone got kidnapped by this mean old, underground dude. What if instead Persephone wanted to experience, she was like perfect as she was, but she wanted to experience heartbreak and trauma.
To fall for the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's an archetype. Yeah. The damsel. Yeah, because she was in love with him at one point, right? Wasn't that part of the story? She just didn't know she was going to have to go to hell to get him. But, I mean, life plot twist. Yeah, Heather felt that, like, wow, possibly. I could see that. Like, all the ones you actually want are in hell and you just want to save them because they're a good time. Like, just stop doing all that.
Stop calling me out.
It's in all of us.
I never stop calling me out. That's what I'm here for.
That is life. I think we all have these same problems.
Yeah.
It just gets weirder after you realize, like, you picked it. I think there was sort of a security in being like, this is heavy to me. Why? For a while.
Yeah.
Like,
security and victimhood.
Yeah, which is weird, but you get used to stuff going bad so often. You just sort of like, all right, cool. Yeah. I actually found it harder to be happy. Like, as the awakening went on, like, hold on, stuff is changing and I don't know what to do with this. I'm so used to the cycle of being unhappy. Like, oh, here comes that seasonal depression. I know what winter does. And now it's just like, oh, I think I'll have cocoa. As the world is on fire. But it's the weirdest thing. Like, as everything else is collapsing, I haven't felt more like, all right, we're getting somewhere. Because nothing before now made sense. This whole world setup doesn't make sense.
And it's like, how cruel did whoever is in charge of this have to be to like really, like 2020 is when we're gonna wake up and we're all being like, nobody knows what the fuck is actually going on anymore.
Right. No, the ironic thing is we all see what's going on, but they still look at us like we crazy. And I'm like, wow, really? That's what we're gonna do? Now I see how Noah felt. Clearly, we should have thought about that then. Because some of us are still those same people who had somebody who was there to save them and totally rebuked them on many different cases. Because every civilization has fell. And I feel like this might be the fall of the United States that was built on the blood, sweat, tears, rape, and genocide of many different races.
And if so, it's about time.
And it took,
I think it might even
1,000 years. Is that it?
I feel like instead of just the United States and the Americas and that kind of thing, I do feel this on an international level of the end of like Western colonialism, you know?
Yeah.
And the hand they had and everything, destroying
like,
everything.
Well, just
but
like
that is a good point, because every other country is fighting too, but they're fighting communism. They're fighting, like there was a billionaire who spoke out against their president this week. They put him in jail for life. Could you imagine being a billionaire that literally only said the president was like not handling business correctly with the coronavirus and get thrown in jail? There's nothing he can do. He's just stuck.
That's kind of where we're headed, I feel like, you know?
I hope not.
It's like they
I'll be right back, y'all.
Oh, I shall mute you.
But, I mean, who knows? I was listening to a podcast called Wounded. Maybe I'll shout them out in the comments, but it's indigenous in Florida, 2 indigenous heritage individuals doing a true crime and paranormal podcast. And it's just crazy because it's like, of all the true crime and paranormal podcasts I've listened to, it's like this one strips away all of the, like it just goes down to the base where like all these indigenous peoples all over the world have these same issues, and like they just go into all these other marginalized communities as well, you know, like, and it's just cool to see the threads between all the different cultures that also sort of lead into this whole thing we're discussing, like of the theory of like what's going to happen. And it's like, oh wow, imagine that, like, you know.
Yeah, because we've been adding up
about this for millennia.
We've been doing spiritual math. Yeah, I think there's no way around it. That's what this is. We've been doing universal, spiritual, esoteric math for weeks, and it's all sort of adding up to the same thing. We go apart and we do our own searches, like as a Scooby Squad, we go do our own searches, but we always seem to come back at the same time that we're figuring out the same stuff, but we all went about it our own special way of getting the information.
I love it.
At this point, everything is coming together kind of biblically. Sort of, in terms of the chess pieces that are being laid out for us. Nobody told us at the beginning of an awakening that was the whole reason you're waking up.
Right?
Like, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to party on Earth. No, you're not. Not now.
No.
Because you just knew this shit. You was about to be able to go out into the world and conquer everything now. You got to conquer some different stuff now. Now you have to conquer something that brings other people joy, because there are a lot of people who aren't going to be able to find their own joy at the same time, while not letting anybody drain you. It's like
there's this wild game in the Magicians where they like, it's like a spell casting game, and the whole thing is that you just have to roll the dice on this board and you never know what you're gonna have to deal with.
2020.
Yeah, exactly.
2020 vision. Well.
And it's funny because I was working in copywriting for optometrists in late 2019, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, it's gonna be fine. We're just gonna be writing a bunch of puns about 2020 vision. Like, lo and behold.
For a reason. This is more like 2012 vision. This is what I envisioned for 2012, not 2020.
Fuck.
They started like taking down the signs and stuff, guys. Like they feel like it's over. Like the stores and everything used to be real strict. Now it's like they're trying to act like stuff is back to normal. So the question is, are things going back to normal and the news is still lying? Or are people really, really this like All right, we're done with coronavirus. We're over it.
I think it's the second one.
No.
I think so.
So how narcissistic is this world? But I guess if we are in the Luciferian experiments, that is what he bet on. He bet that we care more about ourselves than other people.
Than
and
humanity.
for that reason, he wins.
Damn. No, I think that like I still have hope. I think we're gonna come out of left field.
I try not to look at the news because that's when my hope gets fucked up. When I'm alone, I'm like, heal the world. Then I turn on the news and I'm like, put on the mask, just for 5 minutes, just while you go outside. Or don't go outside. Just stop. Here, please. Like, it's really hard because you're trying to remember that we're all connected, and then you just get this feeling like, wow, we're really dumb. If we're all together in this, there's a lot of things people are willfully ignoring right now.
I agree. I concur. I mean,
I concur.
Oh, go on.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh. In the city that I'm in, it's like it's pretty bad for like the province. Like it's a shit show. But my parents live in a smaller town just outside of the city, and everybody there is in this little bubble, like, oh, we don't need to wear a mask and blah 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 blah. And it's like trippy because being in the city where people are taking it seriously and you know, there's not like as much privilege, and this small community is like one of those developing, everybo's moving out there kind of communities, so they think that they're like impeccable and you know, beyond all of that. Yeah, it's trippy. It's weird. It's like I wear a mask at the end of the day just to show like
solidarity.
Hey,
I care.
Yeah, exactly.
If this helps in any way, shape, or form, and if not, it was my intention. Because intention matters.
Even if it's just making that little old lady's day a little bit less scary.
True.
You know?
Because they be out. I never realized how much they be out till this time, till I got nervous for them.
Coughing it up.
Like, get in the house, Granny. Like, we had a Lyft driver today that was a little, you know, up there, and she had her mask, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't be out here in these streets. I think maybe people would take it differently if they realized that this was man-made in a lab and it was released. I really feel like that is a fact that they keep saying on the news, and people are still like,
not paying attention to.
No.
Yeah. See the deaths that are happening, like on the news, we see the deaths and how many, like people aren't taking it seriously.
No, I followed this one spiritual guy, and I really thought he was like awesome until he told people, like, fuck these masks, the coronavirus is fake. And I'm like, are you really going to really tell people that? You have to be so careful when you have people listening to you. I'd rather be wrong and it be fake and you wore a mask, which hurt no one, or the possibility.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where it came from. You know, like it doesn't like it's the same thing.
Designed to kill.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the race issues going on right now. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. You should be in solidarity, in my opinion, of going against oppression. Especially when it is so evidently systemic, you know, like we all gotta come together, and we gotta get information, guys.
It's only one race, and it's human.
Yeah, which
exactly.
At this point, we are all so interbreeded, like all together, on all levels. This is universally and here. The rich people hate us all equally.
Exactly.
That's all that matters. If you are not one of those billionaires, if you're not on that Forbes list, those guys do not give a fuck about you. There's a certain look to that list that lets you know if you don't look like this, you're not on our list. Okay?
That rhymed though.
Everybody else that is not on that list, understand we are the majority. We together. Don't separate us by color, no. Us.
And that's the thing too, like with if you're rich, and there's nothing wrong with being rich if you don't hoard all the money. You know, like it's gonna down to it in this class war where, in my opinion, people are going to be like, okay, well, you're rich. Are you helping people? Then you're valuable. You're not going to get chopped, you know? Like,
otherwise, we need to start revolting because at the end of the day, how they're getting rich, they're kleptoing our dollars.
Our dollars, right.
To them.
Yeah.
Recently, we just made the decision. We have a farmer down the road. I'm like, he sells meat. If we're going to eat meat, we're going to go to the butcher. And we're going to go to the farmer's market. I'm not going to fucking Walmart no more. We're about to switch this shit because the money's going to the wrong places. Walmart has enough fucking money. You know, they have enough money. They don't pay people a lot. Like it's just not fair. So we need to flip the narrative. Maybe if we give our money to each other and support each other's businesses.
Yeah.
How it
Yeah.
always
And it's not
supposed to
going to
be.
happen overnight.
No,
You know,
it's
not
time
everybody
for the
can afford
long
to
run.
not go to Walmart.
No.
I'm
And
going
that's
to
the
say,
thing. They're
I'm
not.
going
But
to
if some of us do, it's just the
get
way.
coffee, you know.
Oh no, we still go to
I know that's
Walmart.
bad. I know that's bad. I know McDonald's eats children or whatever.
And that's something else somebody needed to say. The guilt. You don't have to feel fucking guilty. It's a marathon, not a race. You'll get there by the time you're like 80. You'll be juicing and planting and all that shit you want to do all the time. You still have to survive in a Luciferian world. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta use some of this handy shit he give us to get by. You gotta learn to take.
And you know what? I think that's the only way we're gonna beat them.
Real shit.
Which is astrology. I know, absolutely, and that's a big topic that has to be brought up, especially for people who are coming from a religious background. Which I feel like these are the people who this video is mainly for. You're coming from a whole different belief system. You're feeling lonely. You don't know if you're going to hell. Because now you're like, oh my God, I'm a witch and there's no way to control this shit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, no, this is how you're supposed to be. They just label it so you feel guilty and you end up in a low vibration.
They don't want you to know that hell is lit.
Well, hell is in your mind. That's the thing.
Right.
You think that there's this place you're going to go if you do A, B, C, and D. Guilt is how they keep you caged from becoming who you actually are. What does the universe, what does God want from you? To see what he can do. That is the only requirement you have here. And don't stop anybody else from doing that. Mind your business.
That's all.
Be a good person. Don't violate nobody. If everybody did that, we would all be okay. But we got these people who want to exploit other people for their labor, for their money. Now, trafficking their actual physical bodies. This planet is really trippy. So even if it's a small group of us that are starting, we're waking up for a reason, and it needs to like pass information on. If it's not to people around you, fuck them, move on. God wouldn't have gave you it if you weren't meant to have it. The devil can't create, so he didn't create you. So although witchcraft and all knowledge and all this extra stuff that we were given that was supposed to take us out was institutionalized for that, that's not what we're using it for now. You're supposed to flip the script and take your place at this point. Use your candles, use your sage, use whatever, because they're going to use everything they got.
Use birthday candles if you have to.
Yeah, that'll be a fun little magic.
You can rub your hands together and make an energy ball. You don't even have to use candles. Yes,
throw Dragon Ball Z on their asses. There is no rules to how this goes, you guys. It's all about your intent.
Yeah, it's all about the intuition and just following your gut.
Exactly what Miss Basic as Fuck was saying about how God came here just to see what you could do. Like, if you think about it, I don't mean to be super cliche, but if you think about like a flower, like, okay,
that's what this is.
It just came here to be a flower, so just come here to be your wild self. Like, just do the thing, you know.
And don't hurt anybody. Yeah. Don't judge anybody else because it doesn't resonate with your path. Because there are still people, even as you are no longer Christian or whatever, there's still going to be people in voodoo who try to tell you what to do, or hoodoo, or wherever you go. Somebody else is always going to tell you based upon their experience what is best for you. And you got to learn early in the game. You got to know you and what works for you, and the fact that you don't have to blend.
After I was in, that was one of the most important things I learned when I was in the psychiatric ward. I had a spiritual consultation with like the resident counselor there, and she'd studied theology, or she was Christian, whatever. Didn't really matter. She was like a spiritual guide. And we had this conversation about how like I had veered off the Christian path because I didn't feel like it was for me, and had started exploring all of these alternative, you know, like sacred geometry and all that crazy stuff. And then I, like, long story short, ended up in the psych ward. So I was kind of freaked out, you know, and she was like, no, this is the way you have to look at it. Your spirituality is a garden, and you get to choose what is planted in there. If you notice weeds in there, you can pull them out. Build a fence so the fucking deer don't get in. You know, you don't have to let people into your spiritual garden. If it doesn't vibe with you, it doesn't vibe with you. You know?
That's another thing, being overly fair. Yeah. Because you want to take everybody along.
That changed everything for me.
You got to weed all the snakes out. Because you got to be able to accept when something is not for you and that it has nothing to do with you. You did your part. If you were the best person you could be, sometimes you just got to let it go, or you are accepting that I'm going to continue to get hurt because this person has showed me who they are, and I'm going to still try to change them. That's
Not the way.
Because that person is inevitably trying to change
want to do it that way, but
yeah, like that person's trying to change you too. They're trying to make you go against your morals as well. And that's another type of contract. That's how you end up. When you've done that with somebody for a whole lifetime and went against what you wanted to, they come back again. And I'm trying to help everybody make sure we don't come back again. The only thing you can do in this life to get out is to do you the whole way through. When it's dead, let it die. That's with work too. They have us thinking you have to have one job forever. Why? There are lots of things I like. Why can't we try them all a little bit? Rich people do it all the time. You ever notice how moguls, they end up with multiple businesses and stuff?
Serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
A sleepyhead.
Once they get there, because they do what they want to. If you watch any of these rich people videos, all they say is, I did exactly what I wanted to all the time.
Right?
I was like, all right, I'm going to try that shit. Let me know. And nobody tells you that.
Wild.
Yeah. I need to, there you go.
Yeah.
I was talking to y'all. I needed to pass. Are we passing virtual blunt? Oh, we should have like a cipher. Let's ask questions nobody probably should ask, but just put out in the universe as we pass the virtual blunt. Yeah, right? Why not? Things you think about that you probably watch the answer pop up after this, like on Facebook, like we've got you. Here's your answer.
Dun dun dun.
Yes.
All
right.
Awakening process.
Let me get my thing.
Oh, and this could be on any topic because this could go like. You got.
I look. You want to talk about Ghost right now?
Yeah.
Hey, you can. Hey, if that's where you're.
Roll that raw.
You got your blood and we all lined up.
Yeah. So my mom, she has these cameras that are set up around the house. And she looked at the recording and it literally looked like my dad, like a shadow, like an orb that you see.
That's what they look like.
And
Oh,
it was just insane.
But
And
there
I
was
believe in
something.
ghosts. I believe in ghosts. Like, oh my God.
There are so many more videos saying this coming up. Like, the veil is thinning by, unfortunately, I guess to say, by the number of people that are dying in this coronavirus. The death toll is like, that means the number of souls, the number of power in that lost space. They're actually getting the ability to manifest more because there are more of them now.
That's what the numbers actually are.
And that's what the plan was. The plan was to give them enough strength that they could walk around and like touch us. Like they want to be alive. So the more people they get to be mad. She's like, I fucked up. Oh, that fucked her up. Like, not on my watch.
More sage.
But that's the goal. With the suicides that are happening now, that is the goal. They need more souls. They know they're running out of time.
I think what the thing they don't realize is though, is that like, have you guys ever noticed, what was I watching about how like these rich people wanted to assassinate somebody and they were using like a WhatsApp group and it was just
Scandal?
No.
I think it was actually that podcast I was talking about, but
I'm
they
about
were
to say,
just
because
like,
man, Scandal has some moments too. They let us in.
you know, and
Dude,
that's what I
funny.
feel like they are right now. They don't realize how this is gonna pan out, how like they were so arrogant about this that they haven't really looked through all of the slippery little ways that us humans human off.
But isn't that the way you win though? You only win by not worrying about, but hold on, the real winner looks at what the competition is doing too and assesses their actual, maybe they got too cocky, maybe they won too long. And they didn't realize.
They don't think that we're willing to get nasty.
And that's what they bank on. Because every time they have practically slaughtered us. Every time, and it's really whack.
Because I mean, like this whole, like what we were talking about earlier with like, you can't just be all love and light and stuff. It's true. And why do you think that is? Like, okay, first thing I got to say about this, because this is like a 2 or 3 part thing. First thing I got to say is why, especially for everybody here that's coming online, like from a Christian background, and you're like, okay, spirituality, whoop-de-doo, like, what if I do end up in hell, or what if I don't even end up in heaven, or like whatever. Why do you think astrology, mythology, all these occult studies, where when you actually use their real name, ology, whatever, they sound professional? Why do you think they have been suppressed and painted to you as these tools of the devil? Secondly, I forget what my second point was.
Mm.
And I shut the fuck up so you could, and you don't know how much that
I know. Secondly, I can't remember. Sorry.
Well, that was a great first
that's
point.
a good freaking point.
It
That's why they
was.
call
It'll
it
come
occult.
back when I'm-
They put all the scary movies in that thing. Any movies about ghosts, occult. I'm like, dude, that's literally just sad people that want to go home and don't know how to go home. There's a class to get them out of your house. You just help them pass on. Like,
There's your
why
hack.
can't
If
we
you guys got spirits in your house, you just send them up.
yeah, I'm like, why can't we normalize learning how to do these things on the regular? Because then you'd be aware of your power, and then we wouldn't want
Yeah,
to.
that's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Oh, because none of these jobs that people are working are supposed to be the jobs. We're all supposed to be entrepreneurs, and children are apprentices to take over either family businesses or to develop their own businesses in the future. Like, that's how the system was supposed to work. That's where that whole "it takes a village" thing comes from. We were all supposed to be hand in hand, bartering, buddying it up with our awesomeness. I would really like to do that anyway, if we could just vote for that immediately.
Yeah, it's all about consent, man. If you like, if you don't consent to following their fucking rules, then they can't do anything about that.
Speaking of, what the hell are they going to do with this vaccine? You think
I'm
they're gonna
telling you,
tell
the
us we have to
cities
take
are
it?
going to be shut off to everybody that does not accept the vaccine. And that's that
Or
live
the
in these
test.
little country areas. We are going to have to stay out there and deal with the people that live out there unless we're trying to
Off
get the
grid.
vaccine. Yeah.
Is that what y'all feeling too? Like they're gonna try to
I think
police.
so. Well, because what's it like down there right now? Like, what's the vaccine
It's the
deal?
same like what you were saying as far as like you out in the little areas, in the little cities. And
Yeah,
there's
the
not
little
many
bubble.
people really wearing masks, and some people are wearing masks, but then you go to the cities and it's like recommended. You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
But I mean, have they introduced a vaccine? Like, is there a plan?
No, they can't have one by the end
that
of
I
the
don't
year.
know.
Plan to have one by the end
I
of
know
the year.
I've
There
seen
is
people
no-
getting like
the test.
right, but I haven't seen anything as far as vaccine.
All's quiet on the Western Front.
Are your guys' governments as crazy about flu vaccines as they are up here?
Meaning
Yes.
like we all have to take it every
Every
year.
year.
Yeah,
they
like
peddle
they
it,
like
push it down
pressure
your
sale
throats.
you every year into
Yep.
taking
Yeah.
the flu vaccine.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna
Yeah.
be like.
And that's where they're going to try and put. I think they're also going to try to push that with this year's flu season. Remember that starts
If
in
they can
about
get it out, I know
a
they
week
want
and
it
a
out by
half.
then. They want this money.
So they're going to push that with the flu.
Like how? You know
I
what?
think
It's
You
sick.
think what?
But you sort of understand, like, make the people sick so they have to pay you for some medication to get better.
Big
It's a
pharma.
horrible plan. But if I was just trying to get rich in this world, I'd be like,
Whatever.
yeah.
But that would be an asshole.
Cadillac.
Because it's like you're making millions
Like,
of
that's
people
what I
sick
mean.
just to.
If I was a trash human, and there are trash humans in charge right now. Like, in this climate, nobody should be a trillionaire. If you want to feel like you're secure forever, be a billionaire. That's enough.
Be a millionaire.
With
That's
all
enough.
that money, do you know how much
Yeah.
you can help right now? You can change the world literally. With
And
like
a
a
millionaire is even enough. If we were all a millionaires,
click. Yeah.
then it'd be enough wealth to spread around the world. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like I have this crazy theory that Jeff Bezos, like if I'm not about the QAnon, but if I were to go down that rabbit hole, what
Russell
if
Gordon.
Jeff Bezos is like funneling the economy into his own thing to then redistribute it? What if he's like a Snape in like Harry Potter,
That's
where
very
he's
much
the
possible.
bad guy the whole time?
Which is why
Good
your boy
point.
don't want
He
to come
wants
out
to
of
own the
office.
banks. And if you own the banks, you own the world. That's the problem now because the Federal Reserve is owned by 13 families. There are literally people who own the world that
But
have
if you
been
can buy
around for
them
hundreds
out,
of
though.
hundreds of years.
If you can buy them out, though, then
Money eventually, like at least to the degree that we've involved ourselves with it now.
right.
The only way to not do that is to small businesses, to give the money to each other.
Yep.
But we have to even get along. We can't even get along about being black and white. And that's like, come on, this is the elementary. That's so stupid. It feels like we're at the beginning of Humanity 101. Do not judge people by color. Like, that's where we are. Could we please evolve past this? Because nobody should have to protest right now. I understand
Right.
why it's happening, but nobody should have to be
It's
out there to get sick. because they don't want to let that poor girl down. And I understand her ghost is honestly probably still in that house confused, but she was asleep. And that's how these things work, and that's what they want. And they're using all this pain and misery in her image. That's why they put
Shout
on
out to Breonna
t-shirts
Taylor.
and on the hashtag. It's all feeding into giving that energy. And unfortunately, it's not even going to her. That's why they had this protest go the way it did, and why they wanted more riots. This is the year of the harvest. They need as much energy as they can get.
And then, like, so the script I see in my head is that this is the year of the harvest, and they're like trying to like get all of this energy and all of these vibes and all that kind of thing. And then what I see them doing with it is like lifting this illusion that, or either like lifting it, but also deepening this illusion that we're sovereign beings. They want to take all the sovereignty away. You know, like they just want us to be legit cattle. Oh my God, it's timing out again.
I know, and I don't know why, because I just paid for it. I'm really like.
Maybe it times out after 45 minutes regardless.
What you say?
Maybe it times out 45 minutes regardless.
It only lets you have a meeting, but I upgraded to Pro, but I didn't see what the perks of Pro is.
Oh, we can like use it like segments, like every 20 minutes we switch the topic or something.
Yeah, that works too, or it'll be an ongoing. That's fine too, because like.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
what was I talking about?
Harvest.
Right. Yeah, they just want us to be like 100% slaves at this point. Like, we don't realize we're already cattle.
Yeah, well, they're going to include AI with that shit.
Yeah, we're not sheep. We're cattle. We are livestock.
Her it is.
Yeah, I think that they're just like tired of beating around the bush with that, like the negative agenda or whatever you want to call it. And they just want to like make the full transition. So they're trying to burn out any resistance right now so that they can make that leap, you know?
You think the old people are the resistance?
Deduction.
The young people are totally the resistance if they were going to target somebody. It did seem like this virus was targeting elderly. It was picking off people.
Yeah, because they know the most. They've been on Earth the longest. They're the ones with the most secrets to keep. And then the children are next because they're the future, right? They're the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to keep those that are stuck in the middle.
So send them back to school.
So you want to keep those that are stuck in the middle that don't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can treat them like the cattle.
They are, but I see where they said the gag the devil gets out of all of this is that he always gives us the right to choose. And we have to make the decision that leads us down the path to get fucked up. It's like the gag, which was you can choose if you're sending your child to school or online school. You can wear a mask or you can just stand 6 feet apart. They give you options when the whole time we now see that he knew how bad it was. So I feel like anybody you vote for is still being used as an instrument in this. Trump through his ego. He has good intentions, but he won't listen to anybody else. His pride is way too high. And it's going to be the downfall of all of us. Like now he's to the point where he's not letting them take office. Like that's because he knows if he doesn't have Air Force One, somebody's going to get at him. All his rich friends are going to be gone after this. If you don't have no political ties, we're not your friend, Trump, because everybody thinks you're racist. So he has to win the presidency or his life is pretty much over. The other guy, I don't even look at Biden. I don't know why. I just don't feel like, I'm like, is it really you in charge? Or did they pick the guy that looks most likely to not do nothing shady? Like you're a widower. They made him a widower. Give you all the sympathy points. They did that. Then they had to edit in the black woman with him. Like, y'all really, Earth Games is on this season. I have no idea how this election is going to go, but I feel like it's going to be an amazing shit show, and just amazing from the fact that, objectively speaking, when we're all gone from here, this will just be like.
Do an election episode of like live commentary on it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I cried when Trump won because I was so confused. I was really confused about God when Trump won. I'm like, all right, Lord.
What are you saying?
He had the wheel, and I thought that all things be as they should. It turns out he was supposed to be the better choice. Now that we know who Hillary is, I see now. See, you don't know all the facts all the time. Trust that the universe works.
Has the answers.
Yes.
So we're going to watch this universe work at these elections. We might see a president get dragged out the office. Now, wouldn't that be crazy to see him get dragged out the White House because he don't want to leave? Like his pride is so high. I don't know how this is going to go. Or how much he's going to do to China before
The
this.
whole reason I put any bets on Trump ever was because, in comparison to the prime minister up here, Mr. Trudeau, Trudeau was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. His dad has already been prime minister for us once.
Trump
So
as
he
well.
was groomed. In my opinion, he is just, you know, puppet to the max. Trump, on the other hand, regardless of, if I'm understanding correctly, he made his own money after like his family cut him off, right?
After $1 million.
Something like
They gave him $1 million
they
and
said,
said, do something with it.
Yeah, so he's a little bit more self-made in the sense of like he
Understood.
didn't have the fucking as much of a bounce castle to
Gotcha.
bounce off of.
Gotcha.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I could see him maybe holding, hopefully, I don't know, you guys would be able to tell from his birth chart, but I would hope that like he holds that sovereignty just high enough to save his fucking country in the world.
he's at the highest degree of leadership, just as his rising. That's the path he came to take. So honestly, he is the leader we're supposed to have. It's just,
Well, he's burning shit down.
why, Lord? Why with the racism?
He is burning down the shit that
He
needs
don't
to be
know
burned
no
down.
better. What
In
is
the
it
weirdest
going to
way.
take, Lord, for him to know that people are really out here targeting brown people? Because he really don't believe it. When somebody says this to him, he's like, that doesn't resonate. I don't really understand, because he hasn't experienced it. So how does this man get to experience what it's like to be a child of color in this climate? Because that's the only thing that can humble him. It's not in his realm of perception. We're dealing with a man who understands struggle and businessmanship, and he's running this country like a tight business. I understand that. But the heart is not there.
Right.
And his wife clearly ain't helping him. But she looked like a victim. Every time we see her, she's like, I'm here, but help.
I thought you were going to say Velociraptor.
Well, we really want to go there. All right, so this one is being stupid. I guess that's the end of this part of the segment, and then I'll pull up the next three. We're gonna figure this the fuck out. I think I'm gonna restart it so that the pro kicks in. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good call.
All right, see you guys shortly.
This is a great way to spend an afternoon. I'm digging it.
It is.